$120 million blow as Ukrainian Beaver drones outsmart Crimea defenses, incinerate Mi-8 fleet. Today, what began as a routine Ukrainian drone strike across the Black Sea evolved into a tightly sequenced contest of electronic warfare, air defense timing, and autonomous decision-making. 12 UJ-26 Beaver drones were dispatched toward a Russian airbase in occupied Crimea with a single objective: destroy parked Mi-8 helicopters before they could be dispersed or sheltered. Russia responded layer by layer. First by attacking navigation, then by severing control links, then by committing missiles, guns, and finally a Mi-28N attack helicopter to intercept the threat. Even so, enough drones reached the parking area to ignite fuel, trigger rocket cook-offs, and knock out a high-value radar system. By the end of the sequence, Russia absorbed an assessed $120 million loss across helicopters, munitions, interceptors, and radar equipment. Now, the story starts from the beginning. At 6:32 AM, 12 Ukrainian UJ-26 Beaver drones were already inbound on occupied Crimea, having completed roughly 47 minutes of uninterrupted flight across the Black Sea. The mission profile was deliberately simple and time-sensitive. Arrive low, arrive together, and strike Mi-8 helicopters on the ground before the base could react. From the Ukrainian control stations, the approach appeared routine, until the final seconds, when the first defensive layer activated. On Russian air defense screens, the formation did not resemble random clutter. The contacts moved too steadily for birds, and too deliberately for weather interference. Their spacing suggested guidance rather than instinct. The immediate Russian objective was not to fire missiles, but to undermine the drone's sense of position. A drone that cannot trust its own navigation can be neutralized without a single shot. Within roughly 4 seconds, all 12 drones began tumbling as if caught in invisible turbulence. It was not the wind, it was a guidance collapse. Ukrainian screens lit up with warnings: navigation failure, position uncertain, altitude uncertain. The formation dissolved into instability and near collision behavior. Russia had activated its first electronic warfare layer, beginning with Pole 21, a system designed to exploit reliance on satellite navigation. Pole 21 works by exploiting the weakness of GPS signals at the receiver. GPS satellites transmit extremely faint signals by the time they reach Earth. A drone's receiver can hear them only in a relatively quiet radio environment. Russia did not need to remove GPS from orbit. It only needed to overwhelm the real signal with a louder false one. In this sequence, a spoofing transmitter, described by operators as Bruker, broadcast counterfeit navigation signals, assessed to be 20 billion times stronger than authentic satellite transmissions. The drone's receivers locked onto the stronger signal because, at the hardware level, louder appears more credible. The effect was not merely GPS loss, it was GPS replaced with plausible but false data, telling the drones they were underground one moment and high above the atmosphere the next. For Ukrainian operators, the immediate danger was not missing the target, but losing airframes before reaching land. A tumbling drone at low altitude risks sea impact or collision. With seconds to react, the lead operator switched the formation to INS, inertial navigation. INS measures acceleration and integrates it over time to estimate movement. It does not require external signals, but it drifts. In this account, drift was described as roughly 50 meters per minute. Over distance, that error can grow large enough to miss precise aim points. Still, INS achieved what mattered most in that moment. It stabilized the drones. The surviving drones regrouped into rough clusters. 2 collided and were lost. 10 continued forward. Stability returned, but the air defense network was now fully alert. For Russia, this was only the opening phase. A separate operator, working with Krasukar 4, observed the drones recover and continue inbound. Pole 21 had attacked navigation. Krasuka 4 now targeted the control link between the operator and the drone. Many drones communicate on common radio bands, including 2.4 and 5.8 GHz. Krasuka 4 flooded these frequencies with heavy interference and deceptive traffic resembling legitimate commands, but carrying unusable content. The goal was not destruction, but separation, cutting the drones off from human decision-making. About 7 minutes after the GPS attack, Ukrainian screens degraded. Video feeds collapsed into static. Control inputs stopped responding. Telemetry showed the drones flying straight on their last heading. At that moment, predictability became dangerous. The Russians were counting on a built-in failsafe. As described in the original account, the Beaver drones would automatically turn back if control was lost long enough. Critically, that countdown was short, about 20 seconds. By the time the operators confirmed the link collapse, only moments remained. The lead operator faced a forced decision. Do nothing, and the drones would reverse course, preserving airframes but abandoning the mission. Or activate pre-programmed autonomy, turning the drones into one-way platforms with no abort option. With roughly 15 seconds remaining, and assuming Russia was listening for a turnaround, the operator triggered the emergency protocol at about 10 seconds. 10 remotely controlled drones became autonomous. The screens remained dark, but telemetry confirmed the mode change. The drones followed routes uploaded before launch, then used onboard cameras to confirm helicopter-like shapes and heat signatures at the target area before committing to impact points. Autonomy did not eliminate all electronic threats, but it removed dependence on the control link. Late corrections were no longer possible. With roughly 41 minutes of fuel, the drones were now committed. For the next 12 minutes, the drones flew through what operators experienced as electronic darkness. As they closed the final approach, the engagement shifted from electronic warfare to kinetic defense. At 6:51 AM, the drones crossed a notional line about 40 kilometers from the Crimean coast. A Pantsir S-1 battery near Yevpatoria detected them. 10 small targets appeared on radar, moving at roughly 180 kilometers per hour at about 500 meters altitude. Their behavior did not match the birds. The system classified them as probable UAVs. The Pantsir transitioned from search to track mode. In this account, the reaction cycle took about 12 seconds from detection to missile launch. The drones, however, were executing a pre-planned response. At roughly 32 kilometers from the coast, they dived sharply from 500 meters to about 5 meters above the waves in roughly 8 seconds. The maneuver exploited sea clutter. Radar reflections off water created ghost returns, destabilizing tracking. The Pantsir's picture degraded as range and altitude readings fluctuated. The drones skimmed the waves, but they could not stay there. Ahead, cliffs rising roughly 50 meters forced a climb. That climb briefly restored a clean radar track. As the lead drone pulled up, the Pantsir fired 657 E-6 missiles in quick pairs. Accelerating to about Mach 3, the missiles relied on command guidance before switching to terminal seekers. Their proximity-fused warheads were designed to destroy small targets with near misses. The drones responded by climbing sharply, forcing the missiles into extreme turns at high speed. The interceptors overshot. As the drones dropped again, minimum altitude safety limits prevented detonation near the surface. The missiles splashed into the Black Sea. The Pantsir shifted to its 30 mm autocannons, but low-altitude, fast-moving UAVs remained difficult targets. By the time the drones cleared the coastal belt, 9 remained. 1 had clipped the cliffs. The fight moved inland. At treetop height, the drones followed their programmed corridor. The next response was aerial interception. At 6:59 AM, a Mi-28N attack helicopter rose from behind a ridgeline, using terrain masking at roughly 50 meters altitude. Its OPS-28 thermal sight revealed the drones as bright points, their engines glowing around 200 degrees Celsius. As the helicopter prepared to engage, the drones scattered into 3 groups of 3. The maneuver forced a choice: The pilot committed to the middle group, aligned most directly with the helicopter parking area. The Mi-28N accelerated to about 270 km per hour, attempting to shepherd the drones away. They did not divert. They flew straight at the helicopter. The pilot fired S-8 rockets, but arming constraints mattered. As described, the rockets required roughly 1,300 meters to arm. The drones deliberately entered that bubble. The rockets failed to produce effect. The middle group had served as bait. The remaining 6 drones continued towards the base. The pilot broke off and pursued them at near maximum speed, about 300 km per hour. The gunner switched to proximity-fused 30mm ammunition. The drones jinked aggressively. One took damage but continued. Then they executed a final disruptive move, slipping beneath the helicopter's chin-mounted gun into its blind spot for about 3 seconds. They passed through rotor wash, where turbulence made tracking difficult. As the pilot regained separation, the gunner fired a final burst. 2 drones were destroyed. 7 broke through. As the Mi-28N disengaged, the pilot saw the final complication. The earlier bait drones were also arriving from a second bearing, following their own programmed routes. At 7:01 a.m., the 7 drones crossed the base perimeter at extremely low altitude. Searchlights activated. Sirens sounded. The base commander issued an emergency weapons-free order. Igla Manpad's teams attempted locks, but the minimum arming distance, about 500 meters, made them ineffective at such close range. A Zu-23 gun and a BTR-82A with a 30mm cannon opened fire. Reaction time was compressed to seconds. At 200 meters, then 150, then 100, the drones committed to the final aim points. Rifle fire downed 1, 6 remained. The first drone struck Mi-8 No. 1 at about 197 km per hour, rupturing a fuel tank holding roughly 1,450 liters of aviation kerosene. The fuel ignited instantly. The second hit Mi-8 No. 2, equipped with 4 B-8 V-20 rocket pods. One detonation triggered a chain reaction. Rockets cooked off in place, multiplying destruction. A third drone struck the Nebo U-55G6U radar, rupturing its hydraulic system. The 12-meter antenna collapsed, crushing its control cabin. A fourth drone hit another Mi-8 loaded with ammunition. Secondary explosions followed for roughly 17 minutes. 2 remaining drones, unable to find intact primary targets, dove into the largest heat source, the burning parking area. Damage assessments aligned on a total Russian loss of about $120 million, roughly $45 million in 3 Mi-8 helicopters, about $60 million in the Nebo U radar system, and roughly $15 million in secondary losses from interceptors, ammunition, and infrastructure damage. By the end of the morning, the lesson was not that one layer failed, but that layers can be saturated and forced into bad geometry. Navigation was disrupted, but INS stabilized the flight. Control links collapsed, but autonomy preserved the route. Missiles fired, but altitude and clutter reduced their effectiveness. Helicopter interception worked, but bait tactics stole time. And at the final line, guns could not stop every drone. Today's outcome left Russia absorbing an assessed $120 million blow, while Ukraine demonstrated how disciplined sequencing and autonomy can penetrate layered defenses. The unresolved issue was whether Russia could adapt before the next wave exploited the same gaps, because the engagement showed that layered defenses can still be forced into failure by sequencing, geometry, and autonomy. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more.